Junior says, yes, Junior, you pulling that cat's tail? No, I'm not pulling the cat's tail. I'm holding on. He's doing the pulling. And I play the tapes, and like the show I did last night, before I do my show here, I will play that tape, because there'll be things in there that I've never said before.
Have you ever thought about why some of the best TV shows end all of a sudden? The Red Skelton Show, a comedy classic that made millions of people laugh for more than 20 years, stopped, shocking its fans and leaving a legacy. But what led to the shocking ending? Was it just the way things were going, or was there more to it? In this movie, we'll talk about the real reasons why this wonderful show ended. Stay tuned, and let's find out the story together. How changing audiences left the Red Skelton Show behind. In the 1960s and early 1970s, TV wasn't the same cozy pleasure it had been for older generations. A lot of things changed during that time. People were beginning to question power, social norms were being questioned, and youth culture was becoming the most important thing in the world. It felt like shows that used to work were now out of place. People who watch TV, especially younger people, have started to want something different in this crazy mix. Think about it. American TV was built around comedy shows like The Red Skelton Show for a long time. They made people laugh, play music, and feel good right into their living rooms. But people's choices in shows changed as the world did. People, especially younger people, started wanting more real, raw, and relatable material. They didn't just want to laugh, they wanted shows that could make them think about more serious things. They wanted TV to show the same things that were happening in real life. And that's when plays and comedies began to do really well. When shows like All in the Family first came out, they brought a new type of comedy that wasn't just jokes but also said real things. The people weren't perfect. They were messy, had flaws, and had to deal with tough things. Feelings and thoughts of people were more in tune with these shows. People wanted to see the battles, fights, and awkward parts of life, so they showed them. At the same time, shows like The Red Skelton Show, which had been a hit for over 20 years, began to seem like they were from a different era. Even though they were fun, life had moved on. The style of variety shows, which used to be very popular, was starting to look old. No longer did people just watch TV to escape. They wanted the shows they watched to reflect the times and make them think. Not what people were watching, but how they were watching it was important too. What was being done was getting old for people. When The Red Skelton Show first began, it was new and interesting. But even the best shows can get boring after 20 years. People wanted more. They wanted shows that did more than just make them laugh. They wanted shows that made them think and showed them what was possible. The variety show, which used to be the most popular show on TV, couldn't keep up. People didn't just change what they watched, though. They also changed what they expected from TV. There were more sitcoms like All in the Family and dramas that dealt with social problems head-on, which raised the bar for what a TV show could do. As these new shows became very famous, the old ways of doing things started to break down because they couldn't keep up. The truth is that The Red Skelton Show was hurt by how well it did. Variety TV used to be based on this show, but times have changed, and what was once cutting edge is now stuck in the past. People were getting bored and wanted to see something that felt more real. Like everything else, the way people wanted to have fun changed over time. Even though people still liked Skelton's humor, it couldn't keep up with the new way TV was going. What does this mean for us now? With a new audience that was eager for something different. Television was changing quickly, and shows like The Red Skelton Show had to change with it. The end would come, though, because this was just the start of a bigger change that would end it. Now that we know how TV was changing, let's talk about the real difficulties that the network faced that led to the end of the Red Skelton Show. When CBS began to work behind the scenes, what did they want to achieve? Don't miss it. But changing views among viewers weren't the only thing at play. CBS, which had shown the show for more than 20 years, also had its own plans. In the next part, we'll talk about how the network's demands and limited funds led to the end of the Red Skelton Show. Watch out! The network's shift. As the 1970s went on, the Red Skelton Show was having a hard time. It wasn't just the viewers that were changing. The network that ran it, CBS, was also having a lot of problems. It was getting harder for the network to stay the same and appeal to a younger group because the world around them was changing. Variety shows had been the center of TV for decades, but they were beginning to lose their appeal, and CBS knew it had to move on. To stay ahead of the competition, they needed new, up-to-date material. CBS started to look at people who were younger. The network knew they had to get rid of their old formats and target young people, who were quickly becoming the most important audience for advertisers if they wanted to stay around. Not only did shows like All in the Family and The Mary Tyler Moore Show attract younger fans, but they also changed the way people talked about culture. They weren't just for fun. They talked about problems and difficulties that people were facing at the time. The stories and people were true to life, and the humor was sharp. People around them liked these new, more modern shows, but the Red Skelton Show seemed more like something from the past. A lot of people really liked Skelton's show, but that wasn't enough to keep it going forever. The network was trying to move, and money problems were getting worse. It all came down to money in the end. CBS needed content that was both popular and good value for money. And the Red Skelton Show, which was a popular show on the network, wasn't put together for cheap. The costumes, sets, and production values were very good. As it got easier and cheaper to make new shows that became popular quickly, CBS thought it would be better to spend its money on shows that would appeal to a wider range of young people. Even though the Red Skelton Show's numbers were going down, CBS wasn't ready to cut it off yet. They made a choice to cut costs. That meant things would get tough for the Red Skelton Show. The production value of the show began to drop. To keep costs down, some of the show's fancy sets, outfits, and guest stars were taken away. But as these changes were made, the show's main idea began to shift too. Funny things that used to feel new and original started to feel like they had been done before. That was a problem. It seemed like the show was just going through the motions. It used to be known for having a lot of different stories and being fun. Skelton himself had always been very picky about how well his work was done. He was determined to give his all and not fall short. Skelton started to feel like he couldn't do anything as CBS cut budgets and limited artistic freedom. He had grown the show and made it an important part of American entertainment, but it wasn't the same anymore. He wasn't able to do what he did best, which was to amuse with complete freedom. Skelton found it harder and harder to ignore the cracks that were appearing behind the scenes with each new season. Even worse, as the show's numbers went down, CBS began to wonder if it was still worth keeping. CBS had always been a business, and as the show's viewers dropped, it got harder for them to explain the high costs. The Red Skelton Show had been a part of the network's character for a long time, but in the world of TV, things can always change. And because fewer people were watching, and the network was having more trouble making ends meet, they started to think about the future. A future without the Red Skelton Show. Any longer, it wasn't just about divergent ideas, it was about getting through. CBS was putting more emphasis on shows that fit the new, cheaper mold that younger people liked. There were changes ahead for the Red Skelton Show, which was a beloved part of TV history. The network had to make tough choices to stay relevant because the show was losing steam. But the pressure from CBS wasn't the only thing that ended the show. Not only did it have to do with money or numbers, but Skelton also had to find his own way. Skelton wasn't just an entertainer. He also made things. As the network came to control the show more, Skelton realized it was getting harder and harder to make the show the way he wanted it to be. In the end, the Red Skelton Show stopped not only because the network said so, but also because the show's creators were tired of making it. Viewers weren't watching as much, and people weren't interested in variety shows anymore. What really took place behind the scenes? Why did Skelton finally choose to quit after all those years? The next part goes into more detail about Skelton's anger and how it affected the last few minutes of the Red Skelton Show. Don't miss what's coming up. Struggling for creative freedom. Red Skelton's anger grew as the Red Skelton Show went on for longer. Skelton, who used to be the show's heart and soul, felt more and more trapped as the world around him changed. CBS started to push for the show to be more popular, even though they were the ones who gave him his big break. The network wanted more viewers, more money, and a recipe that was more general and less risky. This change made it harder for Skelton to do what he loved, which was making funny things that were unique and personal. Not only did Red want to be a TV star, but he also wanted to be an artist. The way the show was set up was no longer helping him reach his artistic goals. He was interested in working on new projects that were different from the usual entertainment shows. He didn't get into these deeper, more personal thoughts, though, because he had to keep the show light, simple, and commercial. The format of the show was starting to make him feel like he couldn't move. He wasn't able to push the limits as much as he had planned, and his growing anger toward the network made things worse. Skelton's ideas for the show were changing at the same time. He wasn't interested in doing the same thing every week. He wanted to be able to break out of the patterns and habits that had worked for so long. But CBS had something else in mind. They didn't want to take any risks or make any changes because they knew what worked. This led to a clash of ideas. The network didn't want Skelton to change, try new things, or take creative chances, but he did. Skelton wanted to try new things as an artist, but CBS insisted on sticking to a predictable show. Things between Skelton and CBS got worse over time, making it harder to ignore. It was still a big hit, but Skelton had less and less to do with making it what it was. He began to feel like a guest on his own ship, not in charge of its direction. He used to be the head of the plan, but now the producers and leaders of the network told him what to do. The creative impact he had on her was fading, and with it, her drive. Skelton was no longer the center of his own universe, and not having power made him feel alone. It wasn't just power that drove Skelton to want more say over how his show was run. It was also his love. He wished to create something unique and important. However, CBS's expectations for business success kept getting in the way of his creative plans. He wasn't just a performer anymore. He was an artist with a clear idea of what he wanted to do. When that vision felt stifled, it was hard for him to keep going. He made a big choice because of this fight for power. The artistic frustration and limits he had to deal with were just too much for him. It was hard for him to work on the show that he used to love so much. Skelton wanted artistic freedom, but the network wanted to keep things expected, so they couldn't work together. He was ready for a job change that would take him outside of the rigid structure of a variety show, but CBS wasn't willing to let him. Skelton then made the tough choice to leave. He was ready to start new businesses that would give him more freedom and artistic opportunities. After 20 years of being on the Red Skelton Show, the network took away the very thing that made it great. his freedom to be creative. Skelton's leaving meant the end of an age, but also the start of a new one for him. It wasn't just a move for his job, it was a way for him to find his true passion again. What did they do after he left? What new things did Skelton work on? And how did his death change his legacy? Let's look into the next part of Red Skelton's life and see how his desire to be creatively independent affected his future. When Skelton chose to leave, his future changed in a big way. What was his life like after the Red Skelton Show, though? Let's look at the next part of his work and the unexpected turns he made. Don't miss this! Red Skelton's quest for more. Red Skelton had been playing for crowds for most of his life. Funny sketches, vaudeville acts, and the ability to make people laugh were the building blocks of his success. However, Skelton felt that the Red Skelton Show wasn't enough for him as the years went by. He wanted to do more than just lead a variety show. He had bigger plans and desired to do more than just be on TV. Skelton had always loved making people laugh. But as the years went by, he realized that his imagination was more than just what a weekly variety show could show. He became more eager to try new things and find new chances. There was more to him than just telling jokes or doing slapstick comedy. He wanted to make something new and unique. He became famous and successful on the Red Skelton Show, but it also made him feel like he had to do the same thing every day, instead of being able to be creative. He did everything. He had created characters, done sketches, and made millions of people laugh. But the structure of the show made it hard for him to try new things. There had been creative issues with CBS for years before the turning point. It was important to the network that the show was predictable and made money, but Skelton wanted something new. He stopped caring as much about his show as he used to. He used to put his whole heart and soul into the show, but it wasn't giving him the happiness it used to. It wasn't about pushing the limits or changing with his viewers anymore. It was about keeping things the same, making the advertisers happy, and meeting the network's needs. This was the last straw for Skelton. He could no longer hold back his desire for more artistic freedom. Skelton had been on the Red Skelton Show for more than 20 years at this point. Even the most committed performer can get tired of that level of dedication. It wasn't just about the show anymore. It was about Skelton's own ideas. Being stuck in a box was getting old to him. He didn't just want to be the host of a comedy show. It was his dream to become famous for his other skills, like live performances and art projects. But he could never fully follow those goals while working as a TV host. Skelton didn't just leave for business reasons. It was a very personal choice. He wasn't leaving because the show wasn't doing well anymore. He was leaving because he knew he had more to offer the world. He was ready to find out what else he could do with his skills besides acting on TV. With this choice, he moved from the structured and predictable world of TV to the unknown waters of live shows and other creative projects. There was more to Skelton than the figure people knew and loved on his famous TV show. He wanted to change himself, push his own limits, and show that there was more to him than that. In a bold move that shocked both fans and the entertainment business, Skelton quit the Red Skelton Show. It wasn't just a change in careers, it was a statement of independence, a sign that he had grown out of the part that had defined him for so long. Skelton saw this as a chance to try something new, and he wasn't going to let the comfort of having a good show stop him. Skelton quickly changed gears after the show was over. He gave everything he had to live shows, putting aside the TV cameras to focus on his work in real time in front of crowds. He had been longing for freedom, and these acts gave it to him. He could create, improvise, and try new things without having to follow the rules of a scripted show or the network's demands. Like many artists, Skelton took on new tasks that let him explore different aspects of his craft, such as painting and writing. He was always looking for new ways to connect with his audience after leaving TV. This showed that he was eager to try new things. Skelton's choice to leave, however, had some negative effects. Even though he found new ways to be artistic, the change wasn't easy. TV gave him a stage that no live show could match in terms of how many people saw it. People all over the world knew him from the Red Skelton Show, so leaving that fame was hard. No matter how hard he tried to find new ways to be creative, he would never be as successful or famous as he was with the show. Fans also didn't understand why Skelton would leave a show that had made him so successful and were mean to him. They thought he was giving up the thing that made him famous. Skelton, on the other hand, wasn't interested in the money or fame. He wanted to be creative and find happiness in his work. He didn't want to be the entertainer that everyone thought he would be. He wanted to leave a memory that showed what he was really capable of. Skelton's work after the show did well in its own way over the years. He was known for more than just his comedy. His other artistic work gave him a sense of purpose that TV had not been able to give him. Skelton's choice to leave the Red Skelton Show showed that staying at the top isn't always the most important thing for artists. Sometimes it's finding new ways to express themselves and keep growing. What turned out to happen with the show after Skelton left? The world of TV was changing quickly, and after Skelton left, the future of the Red Skelton Show was unclear. Would CBS keep going without its star? Or would they finally tell us that the best times for the show were over? Stay with us as we look more closely at what happened after Skelton left the Red Skelton Show and what it meant to people. Skelton's departure was just the start of the show's slide. What next? Let's look at how the Red Skelton Show dealt with its end and what happened after Skelton left. This next part is important, so don't miss it. Parts of an era. It was more than just the end of a popular show when the Red Skelton Show was canceled. It was the end of an era in television history. As the 1970s went on, entertainment changed, and slowly but surely, what used to be the standard for TV comedies was no longer relevant. Since the beginning of TV, variety shows like Skelton's have been the most popular. With a mix of sketches, musical acts, and funny routines, they brought families together. However, as time went on, people started to want more from their TV shows. It started to take over prime time with the rise of continuous, story-driven shows with ongoing plots and complicated characters. It wasn't just a change in forms or tastes, it was a change in culture. A new type of TV emerged with shows like All in the Family and The Mary Tyler Moore Show that were more socially aware and less predictable. People wanted real shows that made them think, not just funny shows. It was important to them that the characters had real problems and that they loved and worked their way through them, just like everyone else. Variety shows, with their silly skits and bright outfits, couldn't keep up with this change. The Red Skelton Show aired during that era of great TV, but by the time it finished in 1971, things had changed in the business. The ending of the show marked the end of a practice that was once at the heart of TV. Even though it ended, the Red Skelton Show left a mark on TV that can still be felt today. Red Skelton's comedies were not only funny, they were also touching. He was different from other comedians of his time because he could mix silly jokes with sad ones. His characters, especially the likable Clem Cadiddlehopper and the sad Freddie the Freeloader, became well known on American TV. It wasn't just Skelton's jokes that made people laugh, they also made them feel something. The goal was to make characters that were more than just jokes. They had to reflect real human situations. During a time when characters were often over the top and unrealistic, Skelton's work was based on real people. Even though TV shows changed over the years, fans who had grown up watching The Red Skelton Show still loved it. A lot of people saw it every week and thought of it as part of their lives. American society will always remember the laughs it brought, the characters it created, and the heart it added to the often crazy world of variety shows. Skelton's mix of humor, sadness, and silliness made a recipe that could not be beat. Few people have been able to copy his ability to make people laugh without ever losing sight of the emotional heart of his sketches. What might have happened if Skelton had kept going? Many fans and people who study the history of TV still have that question. Not only did ending The Red Skelton Show mean the end of one of TV's most famous comedy shows, but it also changed Skelton's career. Skelton did try to find new TV jobs after the show ended, but none of them were as successful or had as much of an effect as his years on the variety show. He then moved on to live shows, where his skills were enjoyed by smaller, more personal crowds. Skelton did other artistic things besides his show, like painting and writing, but nothing was as important to culture as his show. The Red Skelton Show had become a big part of Skelton's life in many ways. Not only in Skelton's life, but also in the world of TV, the end of the show left a hole. Early on in American TV history, variety shows were very important, and The Red Skelton Show was one of the best. When it was over, a structure that had made people happy for decades died. But it was replaced by a new age of TV shows with sitcoms, dramas, and stories with more layers. When you think about what could have happened if Skelton had been able to keep going on his own terms, it's easy to feel regret. If the network had let him change and take the show in new, risky ways, what would The Red Skelton Show have been like? Would Skelton have been able to adapt to the changes in TV and keep his relevance and effect at the same level? Or would the show have faded into the background anyway, unable to keep up with the changing trends on TV? It's clear that Skelton's influence has been around for a lot longer than the show itself. He started the variety show genre, and his impact can still be seen in how comedy and variety shows today try to find the right balance between funny and touching. This is a big part of how shows like Saturday Night Live and The Carol Burnett Show got their start. He raised the bar for what kind of comedy could be fun and have meaning at the same time. For many, the end of The Red Skelton Show was more than just the end of a great TV show. It was the end of the kind of humor that defined a time. People used to be able to laugh and cry at the same time, and Skelton was the last of that group. His figures were more than just punchlines. They were true reflections of people. And we're still trying to find that kind of sincerity in a world where entertainment is fast-paced and based on clickbait. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen to keep the journey going. See you in the next one.